They laughed when Keanu Reeves handed over a simple hotel coupon. The manager tore it in half, right in front of him. No one realized the man they humiliated was deciding their $3,800,000,000 0 cents future. What happened next stunned the entire city. Watch to see how a quiet act of disrespect ignited a powerful, unexpected revenge. Before we continue this incredible story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another inspiring story you won't want to miss. Keanu Reeves stepped onto the gleaming marble floor of the Argent Hotel lobby in Paris, the sound of his worn boots softly echoing through the grand space. He wore a simple gray hoodie, its fabric faded and frayed at the edges, and jeans that had clearly seen many miles. A black backpack hung lightly over one shoulder, unadorned and practical. There was no entourage, no flashing cameras, no signs of celebrity fanfare, just a man moving with quiet purpose. The lobby itself was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers dangled from the ceiling, refracting the soft late-afternoon sunlight into thousands of dancing prisms. Polished brass railings gleamed along sweeping staircases. Rich velvet upholstery invited the city's elite to settle in comfort. Gentle classical music floated through the air, blending with the hushed murmur of polite conversation. Most guests barely noticed Keanu as he made his way across the room. A few tourists near the entrance exchanged puzzled glances, whispering to each other, stealing furtive looks at the man who moved so calmly through this temple of luxury. "Is that?" one began, only for the other to shake her head, dismissing the thought. "No, can't be. Why would Keanu Reeves show up here dressed like that?" The truth was, Keanu had come prepared for exactly this moment. Not as a movie star, but as a man intent on observing what lay beneath the polished surface. He had learned of the Argent Hotel's notorious reputation among locals, a place where appearances mattered more than people. Today he carried something most guests would never consider. A promotional coupon issued by Argent itself, a rare voucher promising a complimentary stay and access to the hotel's luxurious spa. As he approached the front desk, a young woman in a neatly pressed navy uniform looked up from her computer, offering a polite smile. "Good afternoon," Keanu said softly, extending the folded coupon toward her. His voice was calm, steady, and devoid of any hint of entitlement. The receptionist's smile faltered slightly as she took the paper and examined it. The voucher was official, embossed with the Argent logo, stamped with an expiration date, and detailed, with the spa access included. Still, a flicker of uncertainty passed over her eyes. Keanu waited patiently, sensing the moment of hesitation. The lobby around them hummed quietly with the soft steps of bellboys and the low conversations of well-dressed patrons. No one paid much attention, but beneath the polite facade, a silent tension began to gather. Just as the receptionist was about to process the voucher, a sharp voice cut through the lobby. "Clarice, step aside." Maurice Delacour appeared, his presence commanding attention. He was tall and gaunt-faced, his silver hair slicked back neatly, wearing a tailored charcoal suit that matched the polished brass fixtures of the hotel. His eyes scanned the front desk, then fixed on the coupon in Clarice's hand. With a controlled disdain, he addressed Keanu. "Sir, perhaps you are unaware of where you are." Keanu nodded slightly, unfazed. "Argent Tower, Paris." Maurice's lips curled into something resembling a smile, but it lacked warmth. "We do not accept walk-ins using coupons. This is not a budget hostel." The words hung heavy in the air. The receptionist looked between Maurice and Keanu, her polite smile gone, replaced by uncertainty. Keanu's calm demeanor never wavered. "It's a valid voucher." Maurice didn't even glance at the coupon again. Instead, with theatrical flair, he snatched it from Clarice's hand. In one swift motion, he tore it clean in half. The sound echoed loudly through the marble lobby. "Sir, Maurice said, his voice now raised. "I suggest you try a motel in the outer districts. Argent is for serious clients, not for those handing out flyers." A few guests nearby chuckled, their laughter hushed but unmistakable. Someone discreetly lifted a phone, capturing the moment on video. Whispers filled the air. "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Couldn't be. Keanu stood silently, the torn halves of the coupon fluttering to the floor like confetti. Maurice stepped closer, lowering his voice to a venomous hiss. "I don't care who you think you are. This building is for those who belong." Security guards dressed in black suits appeared without hesitation, flanking Keanu. Maurice waved them forward. "Please escort this man outside." Without resistance, Keanu slung his backpack over his shoulder and followed them out. The faintest hint of a smile flickered on his lips as he stepped back into the Parisian sunlight. The golden doors of Argent swung shut behind him. Outside, the Paris street buzzed with activity. Cafe patrons chatting, cars honking softly, tourists wandering past historic buildings. But Keanu Reeves stood apart from it all, calm and composed despite the recent humiliation. The torn coupon halves lay forgotten on the marble floor behind the hotel's massive golden doors, now closed to him. Passers-by who recognized the figure in the worn hoodie paused for a moment, whispering among themselves. Some pulled out phones, others exchanged surprised glances. But Keanu made no effort to explain or defend himself. He simply adjusted the straps of his backpack and began walking away. The scene inside the Argent lobby had already begun to ripple outward. Phones that had captured Maurice Delacourt's cruel act uploaded videos within seconds, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Views climbed into the millions before the sun had fully set. A few elite guests murmured in disbelief. Staff exchanged uneasy looks. The grand luxury of Argent suddenly felt tarnished, its reputation slipping like sand through their fingers. Meanwhile, on a balcony overlooking the lobby, Elena Russo, the CFO of Argent Group, watched the footage with growing concern. Her assistant quietly approached, whispering about the incident below. Elena's eyes narrowed as she studied the grainy video of Keanu handing over the coupon, the manager's scornful tear, the wine glass hurled in his direction. She spoke softly but firmly. "No one touches him. No one." Her expression hardened as she ordered her assistant to arrange a meeting with Maurice Delacourt immediately. This was no ordinary complaint. This was a crisis. A character test that Argent had failed spectacularly. Back on the street, Keanu's exit from the hotel was marked not by fanfare, but by a quiet dignity. The man who had been mocked and dismissed was not defeated. Instead, a new chapter was beginning. One that would expose the true cost of arrogance and disrespect. As he disappeared into the Parisian crowd, the world watched closely, waiting for what would come next. Maurice Delacourt entered the lobby with a measured step, his presence cutting through the polite murmur like a sharp blade. His gaunt face was stern, every line etched by years of managing the elite Argent Hotel, a palace of luxury in the heart of Paris. His silver hair was slicked back perfectly, matching the austerity of his tailored charcoal suit. As he approached the front desk, eyes cold and calculating, the atmosphere subtly shifted. Guests straightened, conversations hushed, and the polite smiles of the staff turned wary. He stopped beside Clarice, the receptionist who had just accepted the coupon from Keanu. Maurice glanced down at the paper in her hand, then back at Keanu. His gaze lingered on the worn hoodie, the dusty boots, and the simple backpack. His eyes narrowed slightly, judging not just the man, but what he represented. "Sir," Maurice began, his voice low and dripping with controlled disdain, "perhaps you are unaware of where you are?" Keanu met his eyes steadily. "Argent Tower, Paris," he replied simply, calm but unwavering. Maurice's lips twitched in something resembling a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "We do not accept walk-ins using coupons," he said, voice now firm and unyielding. This is not a budget hostel." The words were blunt, cutting the air like a knife. Around them, some guests paused mid-conversation, casting glances at the unfolding scene. A few staff members shifted uncomfortably behind the desk, sensing the tension. Keanu's calm demeanor never faltered. "It's a valid voucher," he said softly. Maurice didn't bother to look at the coupon again. Instead, with an exaggerated motion, he snatched the paper from Clarice's hand. The lobby seemed to hold its breath as he tore the coupon in half, the sound echoing sharply through the marble halls. "Sir," Maurice continued, raising his voice just enough for nearby guests to hear, "I suggest you try a motel in the outer districts. Argent is for serious clients, not for those handing out flyers." The first chuckles started. Quiet at first, then spreading like wildfire. Phones appeared, cameras flicked on, and whispers grew louder. "Is that really Keanu Reeves? Why would he show up like that?" Keanu stood still, his expression unreadable. The torn coupon halves fluttered gently to the floor, forgotten. Maurice stepped closer, voice dropping to a venomous hiss. "I don't care who you think you are. This building is for those who belong." Security guards in black suits materialized as if summoned by the shift in energy. Maurice waved them forward with a curt gesture. "Please escort this man outside." Without resistance, Keanu slung his backpack over his shoulder and allowed the guards to flank him. His eyes remained calm, and a faint smile played at the corner of his mouth as he was led toward the exit. The golden doors of Argent closed behind him. Outside the grand golden doors of Argent, the Paris street hummed with a life all its own, but the atmosphere was thick with whispers and glances. The video of the coupon being torn in half, of Keanu Reeves being publicly humiliated, was already circulating on phones in the hands of passers-by. Small crowds gathered near the entrance, their faces a mix of disbelief, curiosity, and growing outrage. Inside the lobby, a murmur of discomfort had settled over the once elegant crowd. Some guests looked away, embarrassed by the spectacle. Others pulled out phones, recording or live-streaming the confrontation for the world to see. The buzz of gossip was loud enough to ripple through the polished marble corridors. Clarice, the receptionist who had first greeted Keanu with a polite smile, now stood silently near the front desk. Her hands trembled slightly as she cleaned her glasses, eyes cast downward. The cruelty of the moment weighed on her. She had no authority to intervene, and Maurice's disdainful glare had frozen her voice. She longed to speak, but remained silent. Maurice Delcourt retreated to a private corner, pulling out his phone and scrolling through the early social media fallout. His jaw tightened as he read the mounting backlash. Comments flooded in, condemning his arrogance and cruelty. "Respect Keanu" trended swiftly. A video clip of the moment when a waiter threw wine on Keanu's chest was shared hundreds of thousands of times within the hour. Despite the growing storm, Maurice held on to his belief that Keanu did not belong in Argent. His arrogance and prejudice blinded him to the broader consequences of his actions. As the hours passed, the hotel's management convened an emergency meeting. Elena Russo, CFO of Argent Group, arrived in the lobby, her expression serious and unreadable. She moved swiftly through the crowd, speaking in low tones with key staff members, reviewing the security footage and the viral videos. Her sharp gaze rested on the torn coupon halves displayed on a staff table. Elena's voice carried authority as she addressed the assembled managers. "This incident is more than poor service. It's a failure of character, and it threatens our reputation. We must act decisively." Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves, outside on the Parisian street, stood composed amid the chaos he had quietly triggered. He glanced at his torn coupon halves in his hand, then at the golden doors of Argent, now closed to him. His mind was already moving forward, knowing this moment was not an end, but a beginning. He allowed a faint, knowing smile to cross his face. As night fell over Paris, the story of Keanu Reeves' encounter at Argent Hotel dominated news feeds and headlines worldwide. The clip of Maurice Delacourt tearing the voucher in half, the cold dismissal, and the wine being flung against Keanu's chest had ignited outrage across social media platforms. Thousands shared their shock and condemnation, flooding the hashtag #RespectKeanu with messages of support for the actor and criticism of the hotel's arrogance. Inside Argent, the staff felt the growing pressure. The opulent lobby, once a place of quiet luxury, was now a hotbed of whispered conversations and anxious looks. Employees wondered what the fallout would mean for their jobs, their reputations, and the future of the hotel. Clarice, still shaken by the events, was comforted by a colleague who quietly reminded her, "You did what you could. This wasn't on you." Meanwhile, the executive offices buzzed with urgency. Elena Russo convened a crisis team, reviewing footage frame by frame. She instructed legal, PR, and security teams to prepare statements and assess damages. Yet, despite the panic, her gaze remained steady. This was a challenge she intended to control. Back on the streets, Keanu moved through Paris with an air of quiet resolve. He was not rattled by the humiliation or the laughter he'd endured. For him, this moment was a test, a glimpse into the heart of a corporation that valued status over respect. It was a challenge he intended to meet head-on. Keanu's team began coordinating with media outlets, preparing a statement that would shift the narrative from scandal to accountability. The world was watching, and they intended to make every second count. Maurice, isolated and sweating under the spotlight of public scrutiny, began to realize the consequences of his actions. Calls from board members and investors brought stern warnings. His confident veneer cracked as he faced the possibility of losing everything. As the night deepened, the scene at Argent remained charged with tension between power and humility, arrogance and dignity. And in this crucible, Keanu Reeves's quiet strength began to shine brightest. Keanu Reeves stepped onto the bustling Parisian sidewalk, the golden doors of the Argent Hotel closing quietly behind him. The marble lobby, with its polished floors and crystal chandeliers, was now just a memory, a backdrop to an event that was rapidly becoming a worldwide spectacle. Outside, a valet approached, his smile laced with mockery. "Sir," he said with exaggerated politeness, "shall I call you an Uber? Or is that too expensive today?" Keanu said nothing at first. He just looked at the valet, his calm eyes reflecting years of experience and quiet strength. Without a word, he adjusted the strap of his backpack and began walking away, the faintest hint of a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. The valet's smirk deepened, and a few onlookers nearby chuckled, some sneaking glances at Keanu as if seeing a ghost. Unbeknownst to them, their actions were being recorded. Phones appeared like magic, raised and filming the unfolding scene with eager fingers tapping to capture every moment. Within minutes, clips of the coupon being torn in half, the manager's scorn, the waiter's reckless wine toss, and now the valet's cruel jest flooded social media. The hashtag #RespectKeanu began trending globally, and thousands shared their shock and outrage at the unfolding humiliation. Keanu moved through the crowd with a steady gait, unaffected by the whispers or the pointed stares. His mind was elsewhere, focused, deliberate, on the path ahead. The weight of the moment was heavy, but so was his resolve. He knew this public shaming was only the beginning of something much larger. And as the Parisian sun dipped behind the rooftops, the story of the man who had been quietly dismissed was just starting to light up the world. As Keanu walked away from the hotel, the murmurs around him grew louder, the street filled with whispers and hurried conversations. Passers-by debated in hushed tones whether the man they had just witnessed was truly Keanu Reeves or an imposter. Smartphones were raised everywhere, capturing his calm departure as he disappeared into the bustling streets of Paris. The viral clip spread rapidly, posted by tourists, hotel guests, and onlookers who could hardly believe the spectacle they had witnessed. The video showed Maurice Delacourt tearing the coupon in half, the sharp sound echoing off the marble walls, followed by the shocking moment when a waiter hurled a glass of red wine at Keanu's chest. The wine splashed slowly over his worn hoodie, an image that seemed almost symbolic, like blood marking an injustice. Thousands of viewers expressed outrage. Comments flooded in. How could they treat a man like that? Where is the respect? Keanu showed nothing but dignity. Social media platforms exploded with support for Keanu, and the hashtag #RespectKeanu trended within hours. Influencers, celebrities, and fans weighed in, condemning the hotel's treatment and praising Keanu's composure. Meanwhile, the lobby of Argent Hotel had descended into uneasy silence. Staff exchanged worried glances, knowing the incident was spiraling beyond their control. Some whispered about the consequences, others feared the potential damage to the hotel's reputation. The luxury image of Argent was now under threat from a scandal broadcast across the globe. Despite the rising storm, Keanu remained composed. The humiliation was heavy, but he bore it with a quiet strength. For him, this moment was more than personal insult. It was a test of character, of integrity, and of the values he believed in. He thought of the countless people who were judged unfairly, dismissed because of appearances, and denied dignity simply because they do not fit an ideal. This wasn't about money or status. It was about respect. As the sun set over the Paris skyline, Keanu's figure grew smaller amid the city lights, but his resolve grew ever larger. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. As darkness settled over Paris, the outrage sparked by the humiliating events at Argent Hotel continued to grow. The viral videos were everywhere, shared, reposted, dissected, and discussed by millions around the world. The image of Keanu Reeves standing stoically as wine stained his faded hoodie became a symbol of quiet dignity in the face of arrogance and cruelty. News outlets picked up the story. Headlines blared phrases like "Keanu Reeves humiliated at luxury hotel" and "Billionaire actor's coupon torn in half, a tale of disrespect." Social media influencers and celebrities voiced their support, amplifying the conversation about respect, class, and human decency. Inside Argent, the mood was grim. Employees felt the weight of public judgment, unsure of what lay ahead for the hotel. Some whispered fears of lost business. Others wondered if their own jobs were at risk as the scandal deepened. The once glorious lobby seemed to shrink beneath the shadow of the incident. Meanwhile, Keanu kept a steady pace through the city streets, undeterred by the chaos he had quietly ignited. He wasn't angry or vengeful. His silence spoke volumes. His calm exit was a quiet rebuke to the arrogance that had rejected him. In the days that followed, discussions about the incident turned from shock to scrutiny. Investors and executives began to question the culture at Argent Hotel. Could a company built on luxury survive when its leadership failed to recognize respect as its foundation? Keanu's experience was more than a personal trial. It was a mirror held up to a world too often blinded by status and appearances. His quiet strength sparked a movement, one that would challenge arrogance and demand dignity for all. And as the lights of Paris twinkled against the night sky, a new story was unfolding. A story where respect mattered more than riches, and kindness proved louder than wealth. High above the city of Paris, in a sleek office perched on the 32nd floor of Argent Group's headquarters, Elena Rousseau sat behind a polished glass desk, her eyes fixed on the multiple screens in front of her. The skyline stretched endlessly beyond the windows, with the Eiffel Tower standing proud in the distance, bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon sun. But Elena's attention wasn't on the beauty outside. He was locked on the grainy lobby security footage playing on loop. The video showed everything: the calm entrance of the man in the worn hoodie, the extended hand offering the coupon, and then the cold dismissal as Maurice Delacour tore the voucher in half in front of stunned guests. The waiter's sudden, reckless act of throwing wine at the man's chest flashed across the screen, followed by the composed figure being escorted out by security. Elena's face remained impassive, her sharp eyes analyzing every frame with precision. Recognition flickered in her gaze. The man was no ordinary guest. It was Keanu Reeves. Not just a celebrity actor, but the CEO of Silver Phoenix Investments, the key player in the $3,800,000,000 0 cents expansion deal Argent Group was counting on. She leaned forward slightly, fingers steepled beneath her chin. This was no ordinary incident. This was a test, a character test, far more important than any financial projection or contract clause. Her assistant, Thierry, stood quietly beside her, watching the footage with a mix of concern and disbelief. Elena finally broke the silence. "Maurice Delacour has made a critical error," she said softly, voice steady but edged with warning. "And Argent Group's reputation hangs in the balance." Thierry nodded. "What's the plan?" Elena's eyes flicked back to the screens. "We delay confrontation. Maurice doesn't realize the weight of this yet. If we move too soon, we risk pushing Keanu away entirely." She paused. "When Mr. Reeves returns, we handle this carefully, strategically, with calm, not chaos." Thierry tapped on a tablet, pulling up contact lists and schedules. "I'll prepare the damage control teams, PR, legal, security." "Good," Elena said. "We need to control the narrative before the world does." She turned back to the windows, the city alive below. The stakes were higher than ever. Argent wasn't just a hotel. It was a symbol of prestige, power, and exclusivity. And today, that symbol had been tarnished by arrogance and poor judgment. Elena exhaled slowly, steeling herself for what was to come. This wasn't just about business. It was about respect, trust, and the fragile thread that held their empire together. And Keanu Reeves had just pulled on that thread. Elena sat back in her chair, letting her gaze drift from the video screens to the cityscape that glittered beyond the glass walls. The world outside Paris remained oblivious to the storm quietly gathering inside Argent Group's headquarters. For Elena, every second counted. Her assistant, Thierry, had already begun coordinating with the public relations and legal teams. Plans were underway to craft a carefully worded statement, one that would acknowledge the incident without inflaming tensions. Damage control was necessary, but so was patience. "Elena," Thierry said cautiously, "the footage has gone viral. The public is already reacting. Social media is lighting up with "Respect Keanu." This is beyond a PR crisis. It's a reckoning." Elena nodded. "Yes, and it's a test not just for us, but for the entire company culture. Maurice's behavior reflects a deeper problem, one of entitlement and disrespect disguised as exclusivity." She reached for a folder marked Expansion Deal, Silver Phoenix Investments. Inside were the terms and projections for the $3,800,000,000 0 cents project. The potential economic impact was massive, but so was the risk if the public lost faith. "Mr. Reeves is not just any investor," Elena reminded Thierry. "He embodies values that resonate with today's market: integrity, humility, respect. If we lose him, the deal collapses." The CFO's voice grew firmer. "This is not about just salvaging a contract. It's about redefining what Argent stands for. We must show that respect is non-negotiable, even at the highest levels." Elena's fingers tapped thoughtfully on the desk. Maurice must understand the consequences of his actions. But any confrontation must be strategic. We can't afford to alienate Keanu further. Thierry opened a scheduling app. He is expected to return tomorrow, under a private name, no entourage. "He's testing us." "That makes this even more critical," Elena said. His anonymity means he wants to see the real Argent, how we treat people without the spotlight. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of the situation settling heavily. We prepare for his arrival, Elena concluded. But first, we fix the fractures Maurice has caused. She looked back at the paused video, where Keanu's calm face stared from the screen. Failure is not an option. The next morning, Elena arrived early at Argent's headquarters, her expression unreadable, but resolute. The previous day's events lingered like a shadow over the polished marble floors and glass walls. She moved with purpose through the corridors, her heels clicking softly, signaling the urgency that hung in the air. Her first stop was the Security Operations Center, where technicians were already preparing to feed live footage from the lobby directly to her office. She reviewed every angle, every second of the encounter, determined to understand every nuance. Later, in a quiet conference room, Elena convened a meeting with key department heads, public relations, legal, security, and guest services. The tension in the room was palpable. She began, "Yesterday, Argent failed not because of a lack of policies or procedures, but because of a failure of respect. Maurice's actions have jeopardized our reputation and our future. We need immediate corrective measures." The PR director outlined plans to issue a statement emphasizing Argent's commitment to inclusivity and respect for all guests, regardless of appearance or status. Legal discussed the potential fallout, including investor relations and contract renegotiations. Security detailed new protocols for handling guest interactions, emphasizing discretion and professionalism. Elena listened carefully, weighing each suggestion. "But," she added firmly, "any statement or policy change means nothing unless it is backed by real action and culture change. We must send a clear message internally that arrogance and prejudice will not be tolerated." She fixed Maurice's name with a piercing gaze. "He will be reprimanded appropriately, but we must also examine how this reflects on our leadership as a whole." As the meeting ended, Elena remained behind, staring at the security monitor where Keanu's calm face still flickered. She understood the stakes better than anyone. This was not just about a single incident, but about the soul of Argent itself. Preparing for Keanu's return, she formulated a strategy grounded in humility and respect, hoping to restore trust before it was too late. In the hours that followed, she sent a quiet but firm message to Maurice Delacourt. The company was watching, and the consequences of his actions would be severe. Elena's calm exterior masked the storm inside. She knew this moment was a turning point, not just for Argent, but for how respect and humanity would be valued in the world of luxury hospitality. The future of the $3,800,000,000 0-cents deal, and much more, hung in the balance. The Argent Group's boardroom was a fortress of polished glass and dark mahogany, perched high above the sprawling Paris skyline. Inside, the tension was palpable. Executives in tailored suits shifted nervously in their seats around the long conference table. The usual hum of corporate confidence was replaced by a thick silence, broken only by the ticking of a large Cartier clock on the wall. Maurice Delacourt sat near the center, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead. His usually composed face was pale, and his hands trembled slightly as he wiped them on his silk handkerchief. The weight of the previous day's incident bore down on him. He had underestimated the man he had just humiliated, and the consequences were beginning to crystallize. Outside the room, the elevator chimed softly, signaling the arrival of a new presence. All heads turned instinctively toward the mirrored doors as they slid open smoothly. Keanu Reeves stepped in, his appearance transformed from the casual visitor the hotel staff had dismissed. Now he wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, a black tie knotted with precise care, and polished leather shoes that gleamed under the room's soft lighting. His hair was slicked back just enough to reveal his calm, amber eyes. The room seemed to hold its breath. No one spoke. Elena Russo, the CFO of Argent Group, rose gracefully from her seat. Her sharp eyes locked onto Keanu with a mixture of respect and acknowledgement. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice clear and steady, "allow me to formally introduce Mr. Keanu Reeves, CEO of Silver Phoenix Investments." The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Murmurs erupted around the table. Silver Phoenix. The name was whispered with awe and disbelief. The $3,800,000,000 0 cents deal, the staggering amount that could redefine Argent's future. Maurice's face drained of color. His lips parted in shock, eyes wide with the realization that he had no idea who the man was. Keanu's gaze swept slowly across the room, calm but commanding. The silence stretched, filled with unspoken questions and regrets. The man they had dismissed as a mere guest was the very architect of their company's future. Maurice's mind raced as Keanu's presence filled the room with undeniable authority. He struggled to maintain composure, yet the gravity of his mistake was impossible to ignore. The arrogance that had led him to dismiss Keanu now hung heavily in the air, thickening the tension among the executives. Elena continued, her tone firm yet measured. "Mr. Reeves represents Silver Phoenix Investments, our largest potential investor. The $3,800,000,000 0 cents expansion deal hinges on their support." She paused, allowing the weight of the statement to settle. "This partnership has the potential to elevate Argent Group to unprecedented heights." Eyes shifted uneasily among the board members, some nodding cautiously while others exchanged skeptical glances. The stakes were higher than any of them had anticipated. Keanu stepped forward, placing his black backpack gently on the table. The room fell into an expectant hush. His voice was calm, each word deliberate. "I came here yesterday as a man, not as a celebrity or CEO. I wanted to see how Argent treated people, without the sheen of fame or fortune." His gaze locked with Maurice's. "What I witnessed was a failure of character, not service." There was no anger in his voice, only a chilling clarity. Maurice opened his mouth to respond, but Keanu raised a hand, silencing him effortlessly. "Respect is the foundation of any business, any partnership. It is not earned through wealth or status, but through how we treat those around us." The room remained silent, the message resonating deeply. Elena's eyes met Keanu's briefly, a silent understanding passing between them. She had seen the impact of Keanu's words before. This was no ordinary business negotiation. Keanu turned his gaze to the entire boardroom. "Silver Phoenix Investments is prepared to commit to this expansion. However, that commitment is contingent upon Argent demonstrating that it values respect and dignity at every level." The murmurs began again, softer this time, as the board digested the implications. Maurice's face tightened. His earlier confidence was replaced by a creeping dread. Elena finally broke the silence. "We will review our policies and conduct a thorough internal investigation. Maurice, you will be held accountable." Maurice nodded, defeated. Keanu looked once more around the room. "I do not seek retribution. I seek integrity. Let this be a turning point." The executives absorbed the moment, the tension easing slightly as clarity took hold. Keanu's arrival was not just a statement, it was a challenge. The atmosphere shifted subtly as Keanu Reeves' words settled over the room. The executives, once restless and unsure, now sat in reflective silence, grasping the depth of the message. The realization dawned that this was not merely a business deal at stake. It was a test of character and values. Maurice Delacour remained frozen in his seat, the weight of his actions pressing heavily on him. His attempts to justify the incident felt hollow beneath Keanu's calm but resolute gaze. The humiliation he had inflicted was now mirrored in his own rising sense of disgrace. Elena Russo stood and addressed the room, her voice both authoritative and conciliatory. "We must rebuild trust, not just with Mr. Reeves and Silver Phoenix, but with every guest, employee, and partner who expects dignity here." She gestured toward Maurice. Leadership starts at the top. This incident highlights the need for immediate cultural change within Argent Group. The executives nodded, some with hesitant agreement, others with newfound determination. Keanu gathered his belongings, his movements deliberate and measured. I look forward to seeing Argent rise to this challenge. When respect guides business, success will follow. With that, he turned toward the exit. The room watched as the man they had once underestimated now carried the future of their company in his steady hands. Maurice sat back, exhaling deeply, the reality of his misjudgment sinking in. This moment would mark a turning point, not just in his career, but in the very fabric of Argent Group. As the elevator doors closed behind Keanu, the boardroom remained still, the echoes of his presence lingering like a call to action. Outside, the city of Paris continued its timeless dance beneath the fading twilight, unaware that within a high-rise tower, a quiet revolution had begun. The boardroom, filled with the city's most powerful executives, felt suddenly colder as Keanu Reeves spoke. His voice was calm, yet carried an unmistakable steel edge that cut through the room like a sharpened blade. He fixed his eyes on Maurice Delacourt, the man whose arrogance had sparked this crisis, and spoke without raising his voice, but with unwavering authority. "You judged me before you knew me," Keanu said slowly, each word deliberate. "You saw a man in a hoodie carrying a simple coupon and made your decision. No questions asked, no respect given. You dismissed not just me, but the principle of dignity itself." Maurice's face twitched, betraying a flicker of guilt, but he remained silent under Keanu's unrelenting gaze. This was no ordinary interaction. It was a public humiliation designed to remind someone of their place, Keanu continued. "But what you failed to understand is that respect is not granted based on wealth or status. It is earned through character, through how we treat those who stand before us, no matter who they are or what they carry." The executive sat motionless, sensing the gravity in Keanu's words. He was not here to negotiate a deal. He was here to hold Argent accountable for its failure to embody basic human respect. Turning to face the entire board, Keanu's voice remained steady but firm. "Because of this failure, Silver Phoenix Investments is withdrawing its $3,800,000,000 0 cents commitment to Argent Group, effective immediately." A shocked murmur rippled through the room. Elena Russo, standing beside Keanu, did not flinch. Her expression was resolute as she spoke, reinforcing the finality of the announcement. "As CFO, I affirm that Mr. Reeves' decision carries full authority. Silver Phoenix's capital commitments are binding and non-negotiable." Maurice's composure broke for a moment. His voice cracked as he stammered, "You can't. This deal is vital. Argent's future depends on it." Keanu raised a hand to silence him, his amber eyes never leaving Maurice. "You acted without understanding. You chose cruelty over courtesy, arrogance over empathy, and in doing so, you jeopardized not only this deal, but your own standing." Elena's voice rang out with firm clarity. "Maurice, you will face consequences commensurate with your actions. This incident has exposed serious flaws that demand urgent reform." The room remained still, the tension palpable, as the reality of Keanu's withdrawal settled over everyone. Keanu's tone softened slightly but remained unwavering. "I came seeking respect, not privilege. Argent failed this test. I cannot and will not support a company that cannot uphold the dignity of every person who walks through its doors." His words echoed in the silence, a verdict that left no room for doubt. The room remained heavy with silence as Keanu's words echoed in the spacious boardroom. The executives absorbed the gravity of the situation, their faces etched with a mix of shock, concern, and disbelief. For some, this was a turning point, an undeniable moment demanding reflection and change. Maurice sat frozen, his earlier arrogance dissolved into palpable fear. The consequences of his actions stretched far beyond his control now, entangling the entire company. He tried to gather his thoughts, to find a defense, but Keanu's unwavering gaze held him in place. Elena Russo stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "This incident exposes a profound failure in leadership and corporate culture," she said with conviction. "Respect and dignity are foundational values that cannot be compromised." She looked directly at Maurice. "You will be held accountable, but this also requires a collective effort to rebuild trust at every level of Argent Group." The board members nodded, their expressions sober but resolute. The risk to Argent's reputation and future was no longer abstract. It was immediate and tangible. Keanu's voice softened but remained firm as he addressed the assembled executives. Silver Phoenix Investments is committed to investing in ventures that reflect integrity and respect. We stand for more than financial returns. We stand for values. He turned briefly to Elena and then back to the room. "This is a wake-up call for Argent. The world is watching, and so are your clients, employees, and partners. How you respond will define your future." Whispers of agreement rippled around the table. The silence that had once filled the room was replaced with a charged energy, a mixture of urgency and hope. Maurice's eyes met Keanu's once more, a silent acknowledgement of defeat and understanding. The man he had dismissed was now the one holding his fate. Keanu gathered his belongings with deliberate calm. "I expect to see meaningful change, actions, not just words." With that, he turned toward the exit, his footsteps measured and confident. The elevator doors closed behind him, leaving the room bathed in a thoughtful stillness. Outside, Paris continued its timeless rhythm, unaware of the quiet revolution that had just reshaped one of its grandest institutions. The final moments of Keanu Reeves's confrontation echoed long after he left the room. The boardroom was suffused with a heavy, almost suffocating silence. Each executive sat frozen in place, grappling with the truth they had just been forced to face. The man they had once dismissed as merely an actor or a visitor had spoken with the authority of a leader whose values were uncompromising. Maurice Delacour slumped back in his chair, the cold weight of regret pressing down on him. His earlier confidence, the arrogance that had driven him to tear the coupon in half, was now replaced with a stark realization of how profoundly he had erred. His judgment had not only humiliated a man of great integrity, but also imperiled the future of Argent Group itself. Around the room, Elena Russo's eyes glinted with quiet determination. She understood that this was more than a scandal. It was a crisis of identity. The very soul of Argent was under scrutiny. Mere apologies or superficial changes would never suffice. This was a moment demanding transformation at every level. She rose from her seat and addressed the room with calm conviction. "We have been handed a lesson in humility and respect, one that challenges every one of us to reconsider how we lead, how we treat those who walk through our doors, and how we represent this company to the world." Her words were not just rhetoric. They were a call to arms for cultural change. It was a message that respect and dignity must form the bedrock of their business model if Argent hoped to survive and thrive. The executives exchanged uneasy glances, the tension giving way to a cautious optimism, a hope that the painful reckoning might lead to renewal. Beyond the glass walls, the Paris skyline glowed softly beneath the fading light of dusk, indifferent to the upheaval inside the tower. Yet inside, the pulse of change beat steadily, ignited by the quiet strength of one man's refusal to accept disrespect. Keanu's departure was a reminder that power was not measured in billions, but in the principles that guide our actions. As the elevator doors slid shut behind him, the room was left with more than silence. It was left with a challenge, a challenge to rebuild Argent not just as a palace of luxury, but as a sanctuary of respect, compassion, and integrity. In that challenge lay hope, a hope that from the ashes of arrogance, something greater could rise. And in the stillness, the echoes of Keanu Reeves' words lingered, a beacon for the future. Keanu Reeves rose from his chair with a quiet grace that commanded attention without a single word. The long mahogany table stretched before him, surrounded by the city's most powerful executives, yet none dared to interrupt his calm departure. His movements were deliberate and measured, every step echoing softly on the polished floor, each footfall a silent declaration of dignity and resolve. Without hesitation, he gathered his belongings, the black backpack, worn but sturdy, and a slim leather portfolio that contained the weight of decisions yet to come. His amber eyes scanned the room once, taking in the stunned faces of those who had underestimated him moments before. There was no anger in his gaze, no trace of bitterness, only a quiet strength that demanded respect. Maurice Delacour sat frozen, his complexion ashen, eyes wide and unblinking. The realization of what had just transpired and the irrevocable damage done washed over him in waves of cold fear. The man he had scorned was not just an investor. He was the gatekeeper of Argent Group's future. And now he was walking away. Elena Russo, standing at the head of the table, watched with a composed expression that betrayed no emotion but conveyed deep understanding. She had navigated crises before, but this moment was singular. The path ahead was uncertain, marked by the silence Keanu left behind. Round the room, executives exchanged glances, some filled with regret, others with dawning realization. The tension was thick, a palpable weight pressing down on everyone present, yet no one spoke. No one moved. The stillness was profound, as if the very air waited for what would come next. Keanu's stride never faltered. He passed by each person with steady purpose, his presence a silent rebuke to arrogance and prejudice. The power dynamic had shifted irrevocably, and the room knew it. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, gleaming stainless steel reflecting the faint glow of the chandeliers overhead. Keanu stepped inside without hesitation. The mirrored walls caught his calm reflection as the doors began to close slowly behind him. Maurice's eyes followed, wide with disbelief and fear. As the doors sealed shut, the color drained fully from his face, leaving him pale, shaken, and defeated. The silence that followed was deafening. Keanu Reeves had left the boardroom, but his absence filled the room more than any presence ever could. That silence spoke volumes. Respect was not merely a courtesy, it was a necessity. Arrogance had consequences. Integrity held a power far beyond finance or fame. The closed elevator doors concealed the man who had just delivered a verdict. And beyond those doors, the city of Paris waited. The boardroom remained frozen as the echo of Keanu Reeves's footsteps faded away. The polished floor, once gleaming under the chandelier's light, now seemed heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. The executives sat motionless, each grappling with the enormity of what had just occurred. The public humiliation, the sudden withdrawal of billions in investment, and the clear message that respect was paramount. Maurice Delacour sat slumped in his chair, the bravado drained from his features. His face was pale, eyes glazed with a mix of fear and disbelief. The room around him buzzed with silent whispers, but none dared voice what they all were thinking. This moment marked a turning point for Argent Group, and perhaps for Maurice himself. Elena Russo remained standing, poised and resolute. She scanned the room, noting the faces etched with concern, the subtle nods of agreement, and the quiet determination that was beginning to replace shock. This was her moment to lead, to steer the company through the fallout and toward a future where dignity and respect were non-negotiable. She addressed the board, her voice steady but imbued with urgency. We cannot afford to ignore what just happened. Maurice's actions have jeopardized not only this deal but our reputation. It's a failure that extends beyond one person. It reflects systemic issues that demand immediate attention. The room was silent, the weight of responsibility settling on every shoulder. Elena continued, "Our path forward requires humility and decisive action. We will conduct a full internal review, reassess our policies, and implement training to ensure every employee understands the importance of respect, regardless of a guest's appearance or status." Several executives nodded, murmuring assent. The gravity of the situation was undeniable. Maurice's lips trembled as he tried to respond, but no words came. He knew that his future at Argent was uncertain. The arrogance that once protected him now isolated him. Outside the glass walls, the city of Paris moved on, oblivious to the quiet storm within the tower. But within those walls, a reckoning was underway. A reckoning fueled by one man's refusal to accept disrespect. Keanu's silent exit had left an indelible mark. The message was clear. Respect was the foundation of all relationships, and without it, even the mightiest empires could crumble. As the boardroom slowly came back to life, a renewed sense of purpose began to take hold. Argent Group faced a choice: repeat past mistakes or embrace change. The future hung in the balance. The echoes of Keanu Reeves's departure lingered in the boardroom long after the elevator doors had closed. A profound silence fell over the space, the kind of silence heavy with consequence and reflection. The executives sat quietly, each wrestling with the implications of the moment they had just witnessed. Maurice Delacour remained seated, his posture slumped and defeated. The weight of his actions pressed down on him like a lead cloak, and for the first time, the magnitude of his mistake was undeniable. His reckless judgment had not only cost him his credibility, but threatened the very future of Argent Group. Elena Rousseau rose, her demeanor steady and resolute. She addressed the room with measured authority, her voice cutting through the quiet. "This is a pivotal moment for Argent Group. We must learn from this failure, and more importantly, we must change." She outlined plans for a comprehensive review of the company's culture, a commitment to training, and a renewed focus on respect at every level of the organization. Her words resonated deeply, sparking nods and murmurs of agreement among the board. Beyond the windows, the Paris skyline stretched wide beneath the fading light of dusk, unaware of the storm brewing inside the tower. Yet within those walls, a transformation was beginning, a quiet revolution, inspired by the courage and dignity of one man who refused to be diminished. Keanu Reeves's silent exit was not just an ending, it was a call to action, a challenge to rebuild, to listen, and to grow. And as the night deepened over the city of light, Argent Group faced a future redefined by respect, humility, and the unwavering demand for dignity. By dawn, the story of Keanu Reeves's experience at Argent Hotel had spread like wildfire. Social media feeds exploded with videos, photos, and reactions from around the world. The clip showing the hotel manager tearing up Keanu's coupon and the waiter's shocking act of throwing wine at his chest had already been viewed millions of times. It became a symbol of arrogance, cruelty, and the insidious nature of elitism disguised as luxury. News outlets quickly picked up the viral sensation. Headlines screamed, "Keanu Reeves humiliated at Paris luxury hotel, $3,800,000,000, 0 cents. Deal at risk after public disrespect," and "From star to outcast, the coupon that changed everything." The global public was riveted, drawn in by the unexpected fall from grace of a world-renowned actor and businessman. Investors reacted swiftly. Argent Group's stock opened sharply lower, tumbling as confidence in the company's leadership waned. Analysts debated the financial fallout on morning news shows, discussing how such a scandal could shake the foundation of a prestigious luxury brand. Meanwhile, outside Argent Hotel, the atmosphere was electric. Hundreds of protesters gathered, waving signs demanding respect, fairness, and accountability. Their chants echoed through the grand marble halls, voices rising in unison. "Respect before profit," they shouted. "No more arrogance." Cameras from local and international news stations broadcast the demonstration live, turning the protest into a global spectacle. Online, the hashtag #RespectKeanu dominated trending lists worldwide. Celebrities, influencers, and ordinary people alike shared their support for Keanu Reeves. They posted messages condemning the hotel's treatment and celebrating Keanu's composed response. Influential voices in fashion, business, and entertainment weighed in, sparking widespread conversations about humility, respect, and the dangers of unchecked elitism. The incident struck a nerve beyond the luxury hotel industry. It became a cultural touchstone, a reflection of broader societal issues where appearances and status often overshadow basic human dignity. The public response was not just about one man or one hotel. It was about a growing demand for empathy, inclusivity, and respect in all aspects of life. As the day unfolded, Keanu Reeves remained a figure of quiet strength. He watched the storm from a distance, his resolve firm. This was not a moment for anger or retaliation, but for change. And the world was watching. The coverage intensified as news outlets from every corner of the globe raced to report the story. Evening broadcasts replayed the footage of Keanu Reeves's quiet dignity, contrasted sharply against the hotel staff's disdain. Political commentators debated the broader implications of the incident, how it exposed societal divisions, and the erosion of basic respect in business and culture. On social media, thousands of personal stories began surfacing, people sharing their own experiences of being judged or mistreated due to appearances or status. The hashtag #RespectKeanu became a rallying cry for those demanding fairness and kindness in an increasingly divided world. Celebrities joined the chorus of support. Well-known actors, musicians, and public figures posted messages lauding Keanu's grace and condemning the arrogance of Argent Hotel. Their influence helped the story reach new audiences, turning a localized incident into a global movement for respect. Meanwhile, Argent's PR team scrambled to craft responses, but their efforts were overwhelmed by the viral nature of the scandal. Attempts to downplay or excuse Maurice Delacourt's actions were met with swift backlash. Public trust in Argent began to erode rapidly. Outside Argent Hotel, the protests swelled. What began as a small gathering grew into a large, impassioned crowd. Signs and banners bore slogans like "Dignity for all," "No more arrogance," and "Respect is a right, not a privilege." The chants echoed far beyond the hotel's walls, drawing in activists, local politicians, and concerned citizens. The hotel's reputation suffered a severe blow. Reservations were canceled en masse, and luxury travelers reconsidered their plans. Argent faced a financial crisis unlike any it had seen before. Yet amid the chaos, a shift was occurring. Conversations about class, respect, and corporate responsibility surged. Businesses worldwide took note, reevaluating their own cultures and policies. Keanu Reeves' ordeal had sparked something far greater than anyone had anticipated. A powerful call to action, demanding that respect and kindness become the new currency of success. As night fell, the protests outside Argent Hotel continued unabated, now drawing crowds that spilled into the surrounding streets. News helicopters hovered overhead, their searchlights piercing the darkness, broadcasting the growing unrest live to millions of viewers worldwide. The chants of "Respect before profit" and "Dignity for all" resonated through the city, a stark contrast to the opulence that once defined Argent. Inside the hotel, the atmosphere was tense and chaotic. Staff members whispered nervously among themselves, many fearing the fallout would reach far beyond this single incident. Management scrambled to address the mounting crisis, holding emergency meetings to determine the best course of action. Yet, despite their efforts, the damage had already been done. Social media platforms were flooded with supportive messages for Keanu Reeves. Influencers shared heartfelt videos praising his calm composure and the dignity with which he handled the ordeal. Hashtags like "Respect Keanu" and "Dignity Not Discounts" trended globally, ignited conversations about respect, equality, and the toxic culture of elitism in luxury industries. The story transcended borders, touching nerves in cities far beyond Paris. From New York to Tokyo, London to Sydney, people engaged in discussions about the incident's broader implications. News outlets ran opinion pieces and interviews dissecting the event, often citing Keanu Reeves as an example of grace under pressure. Meanwhile, Argent's shareholders began to feel the consequences. The company's stock price plummeted, shedding nearly half its value overnight. Investors demanded emergency meetings to assess the unfolding crisis. Rumors circulated of board members considering drastic measures, including restructuring and leadership changes. Despite the turmoil, Keanu Reeves remained steady, his focus unwavering. He refused to let the incident define him or divert him from his mission. Instead, he used the platform to highlight the importance of respect and integrity, calling for businesses worldwide to reevaluate their values. Elena Russo, Argent's CFO, found herself at the center of a storm she had only begun to anticipate. Balancing damage control with long-term strategy, she worked tirelessly to guide the company through the darkest hours of its reputation crisis. The events at Argent Hotel had ignited a movement, a powerful demand for respect, kindness, and humility in a world too often blinded by status and wealth. And at the heart of it all stood Keanu Reeves, a man whose quiet strength had sparked a revolution. Maurice Delacourt sat alone in his spacious corner office, the afternoon light casting long shadows across the dark wood desk. The room was silent, except for the low hum of the city outside and the faint tapping of fingers on his smartphone screen. He scrolled through the endless stream of social media posts, news articles, and video clips that documented his public humiliation and the fallout that followed. The viral videos replayed over and over, the moment he tore Keanu Reeves's coupon in half, the wine glass splashing across the actor's hoodie, the cold dismissal of a man who had come seeking nothing but respect. Each replay was a fresh wound, chipping away at the carefully constructed image Maurice had built over decades. Messages flooded in, some direct, many from strangers, condemning his behavior. Comments called him arrogant, cruel, and out of touch. The hashtags "Respect Keanu" and "Justice for Dignity" trended relentlessly, a constant reminder of the consequences of his actions. Maurice's confidence, once unshakable, began to crumble. His hands trembled as he put down the phone, sinking into the leather chair. The weight of isolation was suffocating. Former allies now avoided his calls, and whispers in the corridors of Argent Group grew louder by the day. Board members demanded explanations. Investors questioned their faith in his leadership. Rumors circulated about imminent restructuring and the possible end of his career at Argent. The very future he had worked to secure was slipping through his fingers. He thought back to the incident, the pride that had made him dismiss the man in the hoodie, the contempt that had blinded him to the consequences. The lesson was brutal and unforgiving. Maurice reached for a framed photo on his desk, a younger version of himself smiling with pride at the opening of Argent Hotel years ago. The man in that picture seemed distant now, almost a stranger. The silence of the office pressed in as he grappled with a harsh reality. The damage was not just public but deeply personal. His legacy was unraveling before his eyes, undone by a moment of cruelty. Maurice sat alone in the dimly lit office as the city's lights flickered beyond the windows. The quiet was heavy, but his phone was anything but. Each notification seemed louder than the last, an incessant drumbeat reminding him of the growing storm. Messages from former colleagues, investors, and media outlets flooded in, each more pointed and unforgiving than the last. He had once been the undisputed authority at Argent Hotel, the man who controlled the rhythm of this grand establishment. Now, he was an outcast, stripped of respect and faced with the harsh glare of public condemnation. The board had demanded his presence in emergency meetings, where questions were sharp and expectations clear. His every decision was under a microscope. The executives questioned not only his judgment, but the culture he had fostered, one tainted by arrogance and exclusivity. Investors, previously eager to back Argent's expansion, now pulled back, wary of association with a scandal that threatened to tarnish their own reputations. The company's stock price plummeted, shaking the financial foundation Maurice had helped build. He remembered the day of the incident, the moment he tore the coupon with such confidence, the glance he gave Keanu Reeves that said it all. "You don't belong here." The arrogance had felt justified then. Now, it felt like a blinding mistake. That night, he sat before his computer, watching the viral clips over and over. The sharp rip of the coupon, the stunned silence as Keanu was escorted out, the wine splashing across his hoodie. Each replay was a fresh reminder of his fall from grace. Maurice's mind raced with regret. He had sacrificed dignity for a fleeting assertion of power, never imagining the consequences would be so swift or severe. His legacy, once built on years of service and authority, now crumbled under the weight of his own actions. He thought about the respect he had dismissed, the humanity he had overlooked. It was a bitter realization that respect cannot be commanded. It must be earned and freely given. His confidence shattered, Maurice faced a future uncertain and fraught with peril. The corporate world could be unforgiving, and redemption was far from guaranteed. As dawn broke over Paris, Maurice remained in his office, alone with his thoughts and the harsh reality that his career, and perhaps his life, would never be the same. Days turned into weeks, and Maurice Delacourt's world continued to unravel with relentless speed. The once celebrated hotel manager, respected and feared in equal measure, now found himself navigating a landscape of isolation and regret. Invitations to meetings became summons to interrogations. Friendly greetings were replaced by cold glances or silence. Even his closest confidants kept their distance, unwilling to be caught in the fallout. The Argent Group's board convened repeatedly, their discussions intense and fraught with tension. Maurice's fate was a constant topic. Whispers of resignation, demotion, or outright dismissal circulated through the corridors. Each passing day tightened the noose around his career. Employees across all levels, housekeeping, front desk, management, talked quietly in hushed tones. Some expressed relief that justice seemed imminent. Others worried about the damage to the company's reputation and the threat it posed to their own jobs. The once proud Argent Hotel was now a symbol of arrogance and cruelty. Maurice himself felt the crushing weight of his downfall. He wandered the empty corridors, the echo of his footsteps a haunting reminder of the respect he had lost. The opulent lobby, where he had once exercised authority with an iron will, now felt like a gallery of judgment and shame. In the solitude of his office, Maurice confronted a brutal truth. His moment of pride, the tearing of a coupon and the dismissal of a man seeking nothing but dignity, had sparked a chain reaction that threatened to bring down everything he had worked for. The cost was immeasurable, far beyond what he had ever imagined. Yet amid the darkness, a flicker of something new emerged: introspection. The viral videos that once haunted him became mirrors, reflecting his flaws. The fall was painful, but within it lay the possibility of redemption. The crisis forced him to reckon with his own arrogance and the toxic culture he had enabled. Maurice's story soon spread beyond the walls of Argent, becoming a cautionary tale. Business leaders and public figures cited it as a stark reminder that respect is not a commodity to be bought or a privilege to be wielded. It is a fundamental human right, earned only through kindness, empathy, and humility. As Argent grappled with its reckoning, so too did Maurice face his own personal reckoning. The man who had once commanded the grand lobby was now humbled, forced to confront not only the collapse of his career, but the need for profound change within himself. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with difficulty, but Maurice's fall from grace was also a chance, a rare opportunity to rebuild, to learn, and to grow. And in that chance lay hope. The fallout from the Keanu Reeves incident at Argent Hotel had plunged the luxury empire into crisis. By the following week, the parent company of Argent Group announced an emergency restructuring plan in a press release that sent shockwaves through the corporate world. The statement acknowledged the serious financial losses incurred and promised swift action to stabilize the company and rebuild public trust. Inside Argent's headquarters, executives scrambled to navigate the chaos. The lavish luxury brand image that once symbolized exclusivity and opulence was rapidly crumbling under the weight of public outrage and plummeting stock prices. Urgent meetings were held daily, often extending late into the night as leaders sought solutions. Thousands of Argent employees faced a grim reality. Layoffs were inevitable as the company sought to cut costs and restructure its operations. Frontline workers, clerks, housekeeping staff, and even some mid-level managers found themselves uncertain about their futures. The sense of insecurity rippled through the workforce, dampening morale and fueling anxiety. The lavishness that had defined Argent's crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and golden accents now felt distant and hollow. Behind the grand facade, a company was unraveling, forced to confront its failures and rethink its identity. Financial analysts and business journalists pored over the details. Argent's crisis became a case study in how arrogance and a lack of respect could topple even the most prestigious of businesses. Market experts debated the lessons to be learned from the rapid decline, focusing on the critical importance of corporate culture and leadership. Within the boardroom, Elena Russo emerged as a steadying force. She led efforts to communicate transparently with shareholders and the public, balancing acknowledgement of past mistakes with a vision for renewal. Her strategic approach aimed to restore confidence while recognizing the deep work ahead. Across Paris, the buzz around Argent had shifted. It was no longer just a luxury hotel. It was a symbol of corporate hubris and the need for profound change. As the company braced for a difficult road, the world watched closely, waiting to see if Argent Group could rise from the ashes or be swallowed by the very arrogance that had led to its fall. As Argent Group moved swiftly to implement its emergency restructuring plan, the impact on its employees was immediate and profound. News of layoffs spread through the company like wildfire. Hundreds of staff members, from front desk clerks to housekeeping teams, were informed that their positions were being eliminated or temporarily suspended. The sense of shock and uncertainty rippled through the workforce, leaving many questioning their futures. The lavish environment that once fostered pride among employees now felt like a gilded cage. The sparkling chandeliers and polished marble floors seemed to mock the growing instability beneath. For some, it was the first time they had truly seen cracks in Argent's glittering image. Executives worked tirelessly to manage the crisis behind the scenes. Emergency meetings became the norm, as the leadership team sought to balance cost-cutting measures with efforts to maintain quality service. The pressure was immense, and the stakes were higher than ever. Meanwhile, the public scrutiny intensified. Media outlets continued to report on the fallout, often highlighting the human cost of Argent's downfall. Stories of displaced workers and struggling families added a poignant layer to the corporate scandal. Financial markets reacted with volatility. Argent's stock price continued its downward spiral, reflecting shaken investor confidence. Analysts warned that recovery would require more than financial restructuring. It demanded a cultural overhaul. Industry experts weighed in, citing Argent's experience as a cautionary tale. The consensus was clear. No amount of luxury or prestige could shield a company from the consequences of poor leadership and a toxic culture. Elena Russo emerged as a key figure in the company's response. She spearheaded initiatives to communicate openly with employees and the public, emphasizing Argent's commitment to change. Her leadership offered a beacon of hope amid the turmoil. But the road ahead was daunting. Restoring trust would take time, transparency, and genuine transformation. And as Argent faced its most challenging chapter, the world watched, eager to see if this empire could learn from its mistakes and rebuild on a foundation of respect and integrity. The public fallout from Argent Group's crisis extended beyond the hotel's walls, reverberating through the luxury hospitality industry worldwide. Competing hotels and corporate giants watched closely, some quietly adjusting their own cultures and policies to avoid similar disasters. The incident at Argent became a touchstone for conversations about the fragile balance between exclusivity and empathy. As Argent began implementing its restructuring plan, the company's leadership faced difficult choices. The need to reduce operational costs clashed with the desire to maintain the brand's renowned level of service. Departments were reorganized, budgets slashed, and new policies introduced, all under the watchful eyes of a skeptical public. Elena Russo, guiding Argent through the turmoil, made public appearances to address the crisis with measured honesty. Her statements acknowledged past failures while outlining ambitious plans for cultural renewal and improved guest relations. Her leadership was critical in stabilizing investor confidence and beginning the slow process of reputation repair. However, beneath the public messaging, tensions remained high within the company. Long-standing employees worried about job security and the changing corporate environment. New hires faced the challenge of adapting to a company in flux. Morale was fragile, and the path to recovery was anything but certain. The scandal also ignited broader discussions across social and business platforms about respect, humility, and the pitfalls of unchecked elitism. Keanu Reeves's experience was cited frequently, not just as a celebrity story, but as a lesson in leadership and corporate ethics. Financial analysts tracked Argent's stock with cautious optimism. While the immediate losses were severe, many believed that with strong leadership and a genuine commitment to change, the company could emerge stronger. As the months passed, Argent's journey became a case study in corporate humility. It was a reminder that no empire, no matter how grand, could endure without respect at its core. The legacy of the coupon incident was far-reaching. It challenged businesses everywhere to examine their values, their leaders, and the true meaning of success. And through it all, Keanu Reeves remained a symbol, not just of fame or fortune, but of quiet strength, dignity, and the enduring power of respect. Argent Tower's silhouette still dominated the Paris skyline, its glass facade catching the morning light with the same brilliance as it always had. But inside, a remarkable transformation was underway. The opulence that once defined the tower was slowly fading away, replaced by something far more meaningful. A rebirth, rooted in dignity, inclusion, and compassion. The grand lobby, which had once dazzled visitors with its sparkling crystal chandeliers and gleaming marble counters, now felt spacious and open in a completely new way. The chandeliers, symbols of wealth and exclusivity, had been removed carefully, their crystals stored away as relics of a past era. The marble counters, once pristine and untouchable, were replaced by sturdy oak desks, inviting warmth and approachability. Gone were the velvet ropes and polished brass barriers that had cordoned off VIP guests from the rest of the world. In their place, the entrance opened wide, welcoming families, veterans, single parents, and individuals who had long been excluded from spaces like this. The air was alive with a new energy, a hum of hope and possibility. On the upper floors, luxurious suites were transformed into affordable housing units. The walls that once separated affluent guests were torn down, giving way to communal living spaces where neighbors could connect and support one another. Each apartment was designed with care, offering not just shelter, but a sense of home to those who had faced hardship. The lower levels of Argent Tower became a hub for vital community services. Medical clinics provided accessible health care to those who had struggled to find it elsewhere. Education centers offered classes, workshops, and resources to help people rebuild their lives. The building that had once been a temple to luxury was now a sanctuary for renewal. Visitors to Argent could feel the change from the moment they stepped inside. The atmosphere was one of warmth and acceptance, a stark contrast to the cold exclusivity of before. Volunteers and staff greeted guests with genuine smiles, embodying the spirit of respect that now defined the tower. Near the main entrance, a small but powerful display captured the attention of all who passed. Behind glass, two torn halves of a hotel coupon lay preserved, a testament to the moment when respect was challenged and ultimately reclaimed. Below the coupon, a brass plaque bore the inscription, "Dignity is not for sale. Remember why this building stands." This symbol served as a daily reminder to everyone who entered Argent Tower that no matter how grand the building, true value lies in the respect and dignity we afford each other. The transformation of Argent Tower was more than a renovation. It was a revolution. A luxury landmark reborn as a beacon of hope and humanity, proving that even the most entrenched institutions could change when guided by humility and courage. The changes within Argent Tower rippled beyond its walls, touching the lives of hundreds who found refuge inside. What was once a symbol of exclusion now blossomed into a sanctuary of inclusion and hope. Families who had long struggled to find stable housing were now calling Argent their home. Single mothers, veterans returning from service, and young couples starting anew filled the affordable apartments. The laughter of children echoed down once quiet halls, and neighbors gathered in shared spaces to build community. Medical professionals staffed the new clinics on the lower floors, offering free or low-cost care to those who had been underserved. Education programs provided skills training, literacy classes, and counseling services, empowering residents to reclaim their lives. The lobby buzzed with life and purpose. Volunteers organized food drives, support groups met regularly, and art classes brought color and creativity to the space. The opulence that once intimidated visitors was replaced with warmth and accessibility. Staff wore simple uniforms now, reflecting the company's renewed values of humility and service. Gone were the days when status dictated treatment. Here, every guest received kindness and respect. The preservation of the torn coupon in the lobby was a constant reminder of the building's journey. Visitors paused to reflect on the moment that ignited this transformation, a moment when one man's dignity challenged an empire's arrogance. Plaques and murals told the story of Argent's rebirth, inspiring hope and reminding everyone that respect is the true luxury. Elena Russo and Keanu Reeves often visited the tower, walking its halls quietly, checking in with residents and staff. Their presence was a symbol of commitment, a promise that Argent would never return to its old ways. In a world often divided by wealth and power, Argent Tower stood as a testament to change. Its transformation showed that true luxury lies not in riches or exclusivity, but in the compassion and respect we show to one another. The once gleaming tower had found a new light, one that shone through the hearts of its people, not just its architecture. The transformation of Argent Tower became more than a local story. It blossomed into a symbol of hope and a blueprint for change that resonated far beyond the streets of Paris. Once known exclusively for its opulence and luxury, the tower now stood as a beacon of compassion and dignity, redefining what it meant to be a landmark. Word spread quickly of the building's radical reinvention. Social activists, community organizers, and even government officials began visiting Argent Tower, eager to witness firsthand how an institution steeped in prestige could be reshaped by humility and purpose. Charity partnerships flourished, bringing resources and programs that enriched the lives of the residents. Artists and muralists adorned the walls with vibrant depictions of unity, resilience, and hope, transforming corridors into galleries that told stories of human triumph and kindness. The lobby, once a bastion of exclusivity where velvet ropes segregated the privileged, became a vibrant communal space. Here, residents mingled with volunteers, social workers, and visitors from all walks of life. Workshops, art classes, and community meetings filled the area with a warm energy that had been absent before. The sounds of laughter, conversation, and learning replaced the cold echoes of footsteps and hushed whispers. Keanu Reeves' involvement was quietly transformative. Eschewing the spotlight, he often walked the halls in simple clothes, greeting residents by name and listening to their hopes and struggles. His genuine care and humility created a sense of trust and belonging. For many, he was more than a celebrity. He was a friend and advocate who believed in their potential. The display near the entrance, the torn halves of the hotel coupon preserved under glass, became a pilgrimage site. Visitors stopped to reflect on that moment when dignity was challenged and ultimately reclaimed. The accompanying plaque, bearing the inscription, "Dignity is not for sale," resonated deeply, reminding everyone that respect is a right, not a privilege. Within the tower, the legacy of that pivotal day shaped the daily rhythms of life. Staff members underwent new training, emphasizing empathy and respect, creating a culture that valued every individual. Policies were rewritten to ensure fairness and inclusivity, erasing the vestiges of the arrogance that had led to the crisis. Argent Tower's mission was no longer to serve the elite alone, but to provide shelter, support, and opportunity to those who needed it most. It became a sanctuary, a place where community thrived and people were valued beyond their wealth or status. The marble floors may have been replaced with practical rubber mats and the dazzling chandeliers taken down, but the light inside Argent Tower shone brighter than ever. It was a light fueled by compassion, humility, and the unwavering belief that every person deserves respect and dignity. As the sun set over Paris, Argent Tower stood not just as a building, but as a living testament to the power of change and the enduring strength of kindness. The morning sunlight poured through the expansive windows of the Argent Center, casting a warm and hopeful glow across the transformed spaces. Keanu Reeves and Elena Russo walked quietly side by side, their footsteps echoing softly on the renovated floors. The atmosphere was markedly different from the tense, opulent lobby that once defined the building. Now it pulsed with life, a community coming together in the name of dignity and respect. Silver Phoenix Investments had made a decisive commitment, fully funding the community housing project with unwavering resolve. This was more than a financial transaction, it was a pledge to rebuild trust where it had been shattered. The building that had once symbolized exclusivity and elitism was now a beacon of ethical business and social responsibility. Elena glanced at Keanu as they walked through a corridor bustling with activity. Her eyes reflected both admiration and determination. "We've had several offers from other real estate groups," she said thoughtfully, "all eager to buy the property at a premium. The financial incentives were significant. Yet, you insisted we hold on to it." Keanu's gaze was steady, filled with quiet conviction. "Money is mobile," he said softly. "Trust is not. It must be rebuilt where it was broken. That's where the real work begins." Their partnership embodied a new era of leadership, one that valued integrity and empathy as much as profits and growth. Together, they were setting a powerful example of how business could serve a greater social purpose. As they moved through the halls, Elena updated Keanu on the progress. New community programs launching, families moving into their affordable apartments, medical and education centers opening their doors. The once exclusive building had become a sanctuary of opportunity and hope. Keanu listened attentively, offering words of encouragement and thoughtful questions. His presence brought reassurance, not as a celebrity or investor, but as a man committed to change. Their conversation turned to future plans, expanding the model to other cities, partnering with local organizations to provide comprehensive support, and inspiring other corporations to follow suit. The vision was bold yet grounded, a sustainable future built on compassion. Walking through this reborn space, Keanu and Elena shared a quiet understanding. They were not just rebuilding a building, they were rebuilding lives and redefining success. As Keanu Reeves and Elena Russo walked further into the Argent Center, the sense of transformation was palpable. The once cold, imposing structure had blossomed into a warm, welcoming space, alive with the voices and laughter of its new residents. People greeted them as they passed, offering smiles and nods of appreciation. It was clear this was no longer a symbol of exclusive wealth, but a vibrant community built on dignity and inclusion. Elena stopped for a moment beside a group of residents gathered in a bright, open lounge. She turned to Keanu and said softly, "This is what real transformation looks like. It's not just about renovating a building. It's about restoring faith and hope in people, giving them a place to call home where they're valued." Keanu's gaze swept across the scene, absorbing the energy. "That's the truth many forget," he replied. "Behind every business, every transaction, are real people, families, children, workers. When we lose sight of that, everything else crumbles." Their partnership was more than a business alliance. It was a shared vision for ethical leadership. Together, they championed a new model where success was measured not just by profit margins, but by the impact on lives and communities. Elena shared updates about discussions with city officials and community leaders who were inspired by Argent's transformation. The momentum is building. More people are recognizing what's possible when respect and dignity become the foundation of business. Keanu smiled quietly but with conviction. This is only the beginning. Real, lasting change requires patience, persistence, and commitment. An Adore, a Cardo, a Sh. They talked at length about expanding educational programs within Argent Center. Vocational training, mentorship initiatives, and youth programs were all on the horizon. "Education is essential," Elena said. "It empowers people to break cycles and build new futures. We want to equip them with skills that open doors and create opportunities." Keanu's dedication was evident in every word. His calm resolve reinforced the belief that business could and should be a force for good, capable of uplifting communities and fostering real progress. As they approached the medical center within the building, Elena reflected, "Our partnership is a testament to what can happen when two people with shared values commit to making a difference. It's about more than money. It's about trust, respect, and hope." Keanu glanced at her with a rare smile. Sometimes, the quietest voices carry the strongest messages. In that moment, Argent Center wasn't just a housing project or a community hub, it was a movement. Powered by a partnership forged in integrity and the unwavering belief that every person deserves dignity and opportunity. The journey through Argent Center brought Keanu Reeves and Elena Russo to the rooftop garden, a tranquil oasis perched atop the building that offered a breathtaking panorama of Paris. The garden was more than a patch of greenery. It was a symbol of renewal and hope, a place where residents could find solace amid the city's hectic pace. Flowers bloomed alongside benches, winding paths invited quiet reflection, and the gentle rustling of leaves created a soothing soundtrack. Elena paused, turning toward Keanu with a thoughtful expression. "This partnership has been a profound lesson in leadership for me," she said softly. "It's shown how empathy and respect can transform not just a business, but a community. The true power of leadership lies not in control or profit, but in uplifting others." Keanu's gaze drifted over the city skyline, the Eiffel Tower standing majestically in the distance. His voice was steady, filled with a quiet hope. "We took something broken, a symbol of exclusion and arrogance, and reimagined it as a place of belonging. The real value isn't in buildings or balance sheets. It's in the lives we touch and the dignity we restore. They stood together in silence, the weight of their shared mission settling between them. The rooftop, bathed in golden sunlight, felt like the perfect vantage point from which to envision the future. A future still uncertain, but bright with promise. Silver Phoenix Investments had set a new precedent in ethical business. Their commitment to Argent Center went beyond capital. It was a commitment to social responsibility and genuine change. The story of Argent Tower had evolved from one of scandal to one of redemption, humility, and respect. As they left the rooftop, their footsteps echoing softly down the halls, Keanu and Elena returned to the heart of the community they had helped build. Faces of residents, families, children, veterans passed by, each carrying stories of hope renewed. They walked with a shared resolve, ready to face the challenges and opportunities ahead. Their partnership was more than business. It was a bond forged in trust and a vision for a better world. In that moment, Argent Center was more than a building. It was a beacon of what's possible when compassion guides leadership. And as Keanu and Elena moved forward, the city of Paris watched with hopeful eyes, witnessing the quiet revolution unfolding within one of its most iconic towers. The early morning sun bathed the newly transformed Argent Center in a gentle glow. A small crowd had gathered in front of the building's wide-open lobby, a symbol of change and renewal. Reporters, camera crews, and curious onlookers waited quietly for the rare and much-anticipated appearance of Keanu Reeves. It was a moment that carried the weight of the past and the promise of the future. Keanu stepped forward with calm confidence, dressed simply yet impeccably. No hoodie this time, but a crisp black shirt and dark jeans. His demeanor was composed, his eyes steady as they swept across the crowd. This was not just a public appearance, it was a statement. The first question came from a seasoned journalist, her voice respectful but probing. "Mr. Reeves, you walked away from billions of dollars in investment to make a stand over a simple hotel coupon. Can you explain why?" Keanu's reply was measured, his voice calm and deliberate. It wasn't about the money. It was about respect, about dignity, about how we treat one another when no one is watching. That moment exposed something deeper, a failure of character that I couldn't ignore. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. Keanu continued. Walking away from that deal was a choice to stand for something greater than profit. It was a commitment to values that cannot be bought or sold. Another reporter asked, "Some say this was an act of revenge against Argent. What do you say to that?" Keanu shook his head gently. Revenge doesn't build homes or communities. Respect does. Kindness does. Integrity does. This wasn't about punishment. It was about change. As questions came from every direction, Keanu's answers remained steady and thoughtful. He spoke of the power of humility, the importance of empathy, and the need for businesses to lead with compassion. The interview quickly gained traction. Clips of his calm, heartfelt words were shared widely across social media, inspiring millions. His message resonated far beyond the business world, touching people who had felt overlooked, judged, or marginalized. Keanu's role as a quiet revolutionary was solidified, not just as an actor or investor, but as a leader who championed respect and human dignity in a world too often driven by money and status. The morning ended with Keanu thanking the crowd and stepping back into Argent Center, leaving behind a ripple of hope and a challenge to all who heard his words. The questions kept coming as Keanu Reeves stood firm, unshaken by the intensity of the moment. Reporters sought to understand not only the incident, but the philosophy that had led him to walk away from billions rather than accept disrespect. He pressed gently, "Mr. Reeves, you're known for your humility and kindness. How do you maintain that calm when faced with such blatant arrogance?" Keanu's gaze softened. Kindness isn't weakness. It's a strength that requires courage. Standing up for respect doesn't mean raising your voice. It means standing steady in your values, even when others try to tear you down. The crowd absorbed his words, many nodding in quiet agreement. Keanu elaborated. This world can be harsh, and often it rewards cruelty or indifference. But I believe in a different path, a path where we lift others up, where respect is the currency of human interaction. A reporter asked about the broader implications of his actions. Do you think this incident will change how businesses operate, especially in luxury markets? Keanu considered the question before replying. I hope so. This isn't just about one hotel or one company. It's about the culture that we create in every space we inhabit. Businesses have a responsibility not just to their bottom line, but to the people they serve. His words sparked murmurs of approval from the audience and the journalists alike. The interview turned toward his partnership with Elena Russo and Silver Phoenix Investments. How important has this partnership been in driving change? Keanu smiled thoughtfully. It's been essential. Real change requires real commitment, from leaders who understand that business and social responsibility must go hand in hand. Elena and I share that vision. Together, we're proving that it's possible to build successful ventures grounded in ethics and empathy. As the interview wound down, Keanu addressed the crowd directly. This story isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who has ever felt unseen or disrespected. It's a call to action, to lead with kindness, to hold ourselves accountable, and to remember that dignity is a right, not a privilege. The cameras continued to roll as Keanu's message spread quickly across social media platforms, inspiring discussions worldwide. His calm strength and thoughtful insights reinforced his role as a quiet revolutionary in the business world, a man who used his influence not for spectacle, but for meaningful change. As the interview began to wind down, Keanu Reeves' voice took on a softer, more reflective tone. The weight of his message settled over the gathered reporters and viewers alike. Respect is the cornerstone of every meaningful connection, he said, quietly but with conviction. It's the thread that weaves communities together. It builds trust. It allows us to truly see one another, not as obstacles or statistics, but as fellow human beings. Questions from the press shifted toward the financial consequences of his decision to walk away from the multi-billion-dollar deal. Keanu answered with unflinching clarity. Money matters, yes, but it's never worth sacrificing our integrity or the basic dignity of another person. I'd rather forfeit billions than compromise on respect, because what is wealth without humanity? The crowd remained rapt, hanging on every word as Keanu described the transformation of Argent Tower, how a symbol of exclusion had become a sanctuary for those in need. This place is living proof that change is possible when we prioritize people over profits, he said, a slight smile touching his lips. When asked again about revenge or retaliation, Keanu's smile deepened but remained gentle. Revenge leads only to bitterness and division. My choice is kindness and hope. Real change emerges from empathy, understanding, and the courage to stand firmly for what's right, even when it's difficult. The interview quickly transcended its setting, becoming a viral sensation shared across social media platforms worldwide. Clips of Keanu's calm, heartfelt words were reposted and discussed by millions. His message of humility, respect, and ethical leadership resonated deeply, sparking conversations not just about business, but about how we treat one another every day. Viewers shared their own stories of adversity, resilience, and the power of kindness. The hashtag #RespectKeanu trended globally, uniting people in a movement toward empathy and respect. Keanu Reeves was no longer seen merely as an actor or a wealthy investor. He had become a quiet revolutionary, a symbol of a new way of leading with compassion, integrity, and unwavering commitment to human dignity. As the sun dipped below the Paris skyline, The lights inside Argent Center flickered on, casting a warm glow over the newly transformed community space. Keanu stepped away from the microphone and the flashing cameras, walking back inside with a sense of calm purpose. He sought no applause, no headlines, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing that a profound shift had begun. His message echoed far beyond the walls of Argent Tower, a timeless reminder that kindness, respect, and integrity are the truest measures of success. And in a world often driven by profit and power, that message was more necessary and more powerful than ever. The Argent Center had evolved into more than just a building. It had become a vibrant heart of the community, pulsing with life and hope. Families found shelter and safety within its walls. Single mothers carrying their children through wide-open doors, veterans walking with newfound purpose, and neighbors forging bonds of friendship and support. Children's laughter echoed down hallways once silent and cold. Playrooms and classrooms filled with eager minds, learning and growing in spaces designed for discovery and nurture. Safe gardens and playgrounds replaced marble floors, inviting young feet to run freely and dreams to take flight. The legacy of the hotel coupon, the torn halves preserved behind glass near the entrance, remained a powerful symbol. It was a daily reminder that respect and dignity were not just ideals, but rights to be fiercely protected. Visitors stopped to read the plaque beneath it, understanding that this moment of quiet courage had sparked a revolution. Keanu Reeves became a familiar figure, visiting the Argent Center annually. Each time he was greeted with warm smiles and embraces from residents who saw him as more than a celebrity. They saw him as a champion of their dignity. His presence was a testament to the lasting impact of one man's decision to stand for respect. The quiet revolution Keanu sparked rippled beyond the Argent Center, inspiring business leaders, activists, and citizens around the world. The story became a beacon, a call to action, reminding everyone that true power lies in kindness and integrity. In boardrooms and communities alike, discussions about corporate responsibility and empathy gained new urgency. The incident at Argent was studied as a pivotal moment when arrogance gave way to humility and exclusion gave way to inclusion. As the community thrived, the Argent Center stood tall, a monument not to wealth, but to transformation, hope, and the enduring strength of respect. The sense of belonging within Argent Center grew stronger with each passing day. Residents gathered in shared spaces for celebrations, workshops, and quiet conversations. The walls, once pristine and imposing, were now adorned with murals and photographs, capturing stories of resilience, hope, and new beginnings. Veterans found a supportive network among neighbors who understood the challenges of reintegration. Single mothers attended parenting classes and support groups, empowered by resources that helped them rebuild lives. Children flourished in after-school programs, learning not only academics, but the value of community and respect. Local artists contributed to the center's creative spirit, hosting exhibitions and art classes that brought color and life to formerly sterile halls. Music floated through open windows during community events, uniting people across generations and backgrounds. Keanu Reeves's visits became anticipated occasions. He took time to engage personally with residents, listening to their stories with genuine interest. His humility and kindness inspired many, reinforcing that leadership rooted in empathy could drive lasting change. The plaque with the torn coupon remained a focal point, symbolizing the moment that transformed an empire and ignited a movement. New visitors were often moved by the story it told, a story of courage, dignity, and the power of standing up for respect. The quiet revolution Keanu ignited at Argent Center continued to influence conversations far beyond its walls. Business leaders reevaluated their own practices, incorporating ethics and empathy into corporate culture. Social activists pointed to Argent as a model for meaningful community development. The story of the coupon incident, once seen as a simple act of defiance, had blossomed into a symbol of universal values. It reminded everyone that dignity transcends status and that true leadership means serving others with kindness and integrity. As the years passed, the Argent Center thrived, not as a monument to wealth, but as a living testament to transformation and hope. The community it nurtured grew stronger, its legacy echoing in the lives it touched and the hearts it inspired. As the years passed, the Argent Center grew beyond a simple community housing project. It became a cornerstone of hope, resilience, and renewal within the neighborhood. The bonds formed among residents created a network of support that transcended their individual struggles. Neighbors who had once been strangers now shared meals, celebrated milestones, and lifted each other in times of need. The center had become a true home, a place where dignity was restored and futures were rebuilt. Keanu Reeves's annual visits became cherished occasions. He no longer arrived as a distant celebrity, but as a familiar friend, walking the halls with genuine warmth and humility. Residents eagerly awaited his arrival, ready to share their stories, hopes, and achievements. His presence was a living reminder that their lives mattered and that their dignity was recognized and honored. The story of the torn hotel coupon, preserved behind glass at the entrance, remained a powerful symbol. Visitors and residents alike paused before the display, reflecting on the moment that sparked such profound transformation. The plaque beneath bore a simple yet profound message: dignity is not for sale. It was a daily testament to the courage required to stand up for respect and the lasting impact such acts can have. Beyond Paris, the quiet revolution Keanu had ignited resonated across the globe. The incident and its aftermath became a beacon, inspiring business leaders, social activists, and ordinary people to rethink their values and priorities. It challenged the conventional notions of success, urging a shift from wealth and status to kindness, integrity, and social responsibility. Inspired by Argent Center's success, cities worldwide began launching similar projects, transforming abandoned or exclusive properties into inclusive spaces that offered shelter, education, and opportunity to those in need. These initiatives carried forward the values championed by Keanu and Elena, proving that ethical business and social progress could go hand in hand. The legacy of the Argent Center was not just physical, but deeply human. It lived in the lives changed, the barriers dismantled, and the dignity restored. It was a story of redemption, of a community reclaimed, and of hope rekindled. As the sun set over Paris, the lights of Argent Center glowed softly, illuminating a building transformed by compassion and courage. The quiet revolution had taken root, blossoming into a movement that would inspire generations. And though the chapter that began with a torn coupon seemed like a small moment in time, its ripples would continue to shape the future, reminding us all that respect, kindness, and humility are the true foundations of lasting change. News of Argent Center's profound transformation spread far beyond the streets of Paris. Media outlets across continents reported the story, a luxury hotel's dramatic reinvention into a vibrant community hub symbolizing respect, dignity, and social responsibility. The tale of Keanu Reeves's quiet stand against arrogance and his commitment to rebuilding trust where it had been broken resonated deeply worldwide. Business leaders in cities from New York to Tokyo, London to Sydney, began to reconsider how their own companies treated people, customers, employees, and communities alike. Argent's story became a benchmark for what ethical business could look like, inspiring a wave of introspection and change. Conversations shifted in boardrooms and conference halls. Corporate executives debated how respect and humility might be integrated into their company cultures without sacrificing profitability. The incident at Argent was cited as a case study in leadership courses, highlighting the power of kindness and integrity over arrogance and exclusion. Social media amplified the message, fueling a growing movement. Hashtags like "respect in business" and "kindness in commerce" trended globally, connecting stories of similar acts of courage and compassion that challenged toxic corporate norms. Communities shared inspiring examples. Companies that had adopted policies emphasizing empathy, transparency, and equitable treatment. Stories emerged of CEOs visiting employees anonymously, businesses creating programs to uplift marginalized groups, and leaders standing firmly against discrimination. Let Christian Giacoul, Brank Comac, Keanu Reeves's role in this movement became emblematic. His calm yet resolute stance embodied a new business ethos that valued human dignity as much as financial success. He was no longer just an actor or investor, but a symbol of change, a quiet revolutionary who proved that leadership could be compassionate and powerful. But if the good was impossible, the movement wasn't limited to luxury industries. It spread into technology, finance, manufacturing, and beyond. Businesses began reevaluating their practices, seeking ways to foster cultures where respect was the foundation. In classrooms, students learned about the Argent Center story as an example of transformative leadership. In communities, activists used it as a rallying cry for fairness and inclusion. The global conversation was clear. The future of business was not just in numbers, but in nurturing humanity. The ripple effect of Argent Center's transformation was undeniable. Around the world, businesses began to reflect on the incident and its powerful message. It sparked a wave of corporate introspection, a call to realign values and practices with respect, humility, and social responsibility. In the United States, companies large and small re-examined their cultures. Some launched initiatives to create inclusive workplaces where every voice was valued. Others implemented anonymous feedback systems to give employees safe spaces to report mistreatment without fear of reprisal. Training programs emphasizing empathy and kindness became widespread, challenging long-held beliefs that cutthroat competitiveness was the only path to success. In Asia, executives shared the story as a lesson in leadership grounded in humanity. Workshops and seminars highlighted the importance of treating customers and staff with dignity, and many corporations began adopting codes of conduct that prioritized ethical behavior over short-term profits. In Europe, inspired by Argent's story, governments and businesses partnered to develop social impact programs targeting housing insecurity, education, and healthcare access. The concept of corporate social responsibility took on renewed urgency, shifting from an afterthought to a core strategic pillar. Social media played a critical role in fueling this global movement. Influencers, activists, and everyday people shared their own stories of kindness and integrity, creating a vast digital network of support and inspiration. Viral campaigns urged companies to lead with respect and choose kindness, driving public demand for transparent and ethical business practices. Keanu Reeves, though never one for the spotlight, found his voice embraced as a catalyst for this new ethos. His actions at Argent Tower had shown that respect is not a luxury, but a necessity. Leaders across industries cited his example as proof that quiet strength and integrity could effect profound change. Business schools incorporated the case into their curricula, teaching future leaders about the power of empathy in corporate success. Boardrooms began inviting ethicists and social advocates to shape policies that balanced profit with purpose. Communities worldwide embraced the movement as well. Grassroots organizations partnered with local businesses to promote fair wages, workplace diversity, and equitable opportunities. The story of Argent Center became a beacon for those advocating systemic change. The movement signaled a shift, a recognition that the true measure of success is found not only in financial statements, but in the dignity, respect, and well-being afforded to every person touched by a business. As the global movement toward respect and humility in business gained momentum, stories of kindness and integrity began to emerge from every corner of the world. Small businesses in remote towns adopted inclusive hiring practices, giving opportunities to those often overlooked. Tech giants pledged transparency and fairness, in their algorithms and labor policies. Financial institutions increased support for underserved communities, recognizing the power of social impact. Keanu Reeves' role as a symbol of this movement became unmistakable. Though he rarely sought the spotlight, his quiet actions sparked a powerful dialogue about leadership and ethics. Media outlets featured him not just as a Hollywood star, but as a visionary who challenged corporate norms and inspired real change. Conferences and summits worldwide invited Keanu and Elena Russo to share their story. Their partnership was hailed as a blueprint for integrating business success with social responsibility. Leaders and policymakers examined how the lessons learned at Argent Center could be adapted and scaled, bringing dignity and respect to countless lives. The #RespectKeanu trended on social media platforms, accompanied by heartfelt testimonials from people whose lives had been touched by similar acts of kindness. Individuals shared their personal experiences of standing up against injustice and embracing empathy in their communities. Educational institutions integrated the story of Argent Center into programs on business ethics, social entrepreneurship, and leadership. Students debated how respect and humility could transform industries and create sustainable futures. This quiet revolution was not confined to business alone. It touched cultural attitudes and societal values. The message was clear: respect is the foundation for progress, and kindness is the currency of lasting change. As the sun set on cities from Paris to New York, Tokyo to Johannesburg, the legacy of Argent Center and Keanu Reeves continued to inspire. It was a testament to the power of one person's dignity to spark a global movement. A reminder that in a world often defined by profit and power, humility and respect remain the true markers of success. And as this story spread, millions found hope in the possibility that kindness, integrity, and quiet strength could reshape the future for us all. Keanu Reeves sat quietly at his desk, the soft glow of a single lamp illuminating the pages of his journal. The journey that had begun with a simple coupon and a moment of quiet defiance had transformed into something far greater than he had ever imagined. It was a story of respect, dignity, and the enduring power of kindness. A journey that reshaped not only a building, but an entire community, and ultimately inspired a global movement. He picked up his pen and began to write, the words flowing with deliberate calmness. "True power is quiet," he wrote. "It's not in loud declarations or grand gestures, but in the steady commitment to treat everyone with dignity, no matter who they are or where they come from." Reflecting on the incident at Argent Tower, Keanu thought about how that moment of humiliation could have crushed a lesser person. Instead, it became a catalyst for change, proof that strength often comes from vulnerability and the courage to stand up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. He paused, considering the countless lives touched by the transformation. The families who now called Argent Center home, the veterans who found support, the children who learned and played in safe spaces. Each story was a testament to the ripple effect of respect and kindness. Keanu's writing continued, "Change does not happen in headlines or boardroom deals. It happens when strangers choose to stay, to listen, to understand, to act with compassion. It is in those quiet moments that true transformation takes root." He closed the journal gently, the final words echoing in the stillness of the room. "This story is not mine alone. It belongs to everyone who believes in the power of kindness and the strength of dignity." Turning toward the camera, Keanu's voice was steady and sincere as he addressed the audience directly. Have you ever faced humiliation or rejection that led to unexpected strength? I invite you to share your story in the comments. Let us know how you turned hardship into hope. He paused briefly before adding, "And what story should I tell next? What lessons, what journeys do you want to see explored? Share your ideas. This channel is as much yours as it is mine." The invitation was more than a call to engage. It was an encouragement to reflect, to connect, and to find strength in shared experience. As the video faded to black, Keanu's final words lingered. Remember, true power is quiet. True change begins with respect. The quiet strength that Keanu Reeves had come to embody wasn't merely a personal mantra. It was the very foundation upon which the entire journey had been built. As he sat reflecting on the transformation, from the moment of humiliation to the creation of Argent Center, he realized how deeply respect and kindness had shaped every step. These were the invisible forces that had rebuilt lives, restored hope, and rekindled dignity. He thought back to that defining moment in the Argent lobby, when a torn coupon became a spark that ignited a powerful reckoning. What appeared to be a simple act of defiance revealed a profound truth: that dignity and respect are not negotiable, regardless of circumstance or status. That moment was a reminder that every person deserves to be treated with humanity. Keanu's mind wandered to the many faces of those touched by the new Argent Center. Single mothers finding refuge and stability, veterans reclaiming purpose, and children playing and learning in safe spaces. Each story was a living testament to how compassion could triumph over cruelty, how empathy could reshape an institution. Putting pen to paper again, he wrote, "Kindness does not seek the spotlight. It flourishes in everyday actions, in how we listen attentively, treat strangers with warmth, and stand silently but firmly for what is right. It's in these moments that true power reveals itself." Looking up, his voice became calm and steady as he spoke directly to the audience. We all face moments when we feel small, rejected, or invisible, but those moments don't define us. What defines us is how we respond, how we choose dignity over despair, respect over resentment. That choice can change everything. Keanu extended an invitation to his viewers, encouraging them to share their own stories of resilience, how humiliation or hardship led to unexpected strength. Your story matters, he said sincerely. Together, we can create a community where kindness drowns out cruelty, and respect is the rule, not the exception. Turning to the future, Keanu encouraged his audience to participate actively in shaping the channel's journey. What stories inspire you? What lessons would you like to see explored? This space is yours as much as mine. The tone throughout was warm, genuine, and earnest, designed to foster honest engagement and deep connection. This was not merely entertainment, it was a shared space for growth and reflection. As the screen gently faded, Keanu's closing words lingered, a lasting reminder. True change begins quietly, with respect, steadfast, and unwavering. Seattle. As Keanu Reeves' reflections drew to a close, his voice held a gentle yet unwavering conviction, resonating with the weight of everything he had experienced and learned. This journey, from a quiet moment of humiliation in a grand hotel lobby to a global movement for respect and dignity, was never about fame, fortune, or spectacle. It was about something profoundly human, something that touches every one of us. The intrinsic right to be treated with kindness and respect. Respect, he said softly, is not a privilege reserved for the powerful or wealthy. It's a fundamental human right. It is the foundation of every community, every relationship, and every act of true leadership. He paused, allowing the gravity of those words to settle. Too often, we forget that the way we treat others defines who we truly are, not our titles or possessions. He spoke candidly about the ripple effect of kindness, the idea that small acts, quiet decisions, and steadfast commitments could create waves of change far beyond what we can immediately see. When kindness guides our actions, Keanu continued, we sow seeds of hope that grow into forests of transformation, reaching communities, families, and individuals in ways we could never have imagined. Turning his gaze directly to the audience, Keanu's tone became intimate and inviting. Have you ever faced a moment of humiliation or rejection that unexpectedly gave you strength? Moments when you chose dignity over despair, kindness over anger? Those stories are powerful. They remind us that we are stronger than our hardships. He smiled gently. I want to hear your stories. Share them in the comments below. Let's build a community rooted in empathy and resilience. Then, shifting toward the future, Keanu spoke of the channel as a shared journey. This space is not just mine, it belongs to all of us. What stories inspire you? What lessons do you want me to explore next? Your voices matter, and your experiences are the foundation for the stories we tell together. The closing message was clear and hopeful. True power is quiet, steady, and unyielding. True change happens when we recognize the dignity in every person, when we choose to lead with kindness and respect. As the video faded to black, those words lingered, a call to action and a reminder that each of us holds the power to spark a quiet revolution. The screen went dark, but the impact remained. An invitation to reflect, to engage, and to be part of a movement where respect is the most valuable currency.